Hello, everyone. Welcome to the theory class. Today, we're going to be covering lesson 11. So before we get started with that, let's go ahead and take our evaluation. All right, so this will be covering lesson 10. Okay, here we go. Number 1, fix. Will you fix the car? Number 2, yes, sir. Yes, sir, I was there. Number 3, prune. Did you prune the tree? Number 4, sun. The sun is shining today. Number 5, and. Let's go out to dinner and to the movies. Number 6, come. Will you come to my party? Number 7, why? Why did you go? Number 8, year. What year were you born? Number 9, been. I have been gone too long. And number 10, says. He says it's okay. All right, let's go over those and see how you did. Okay. All right, number 1, fix. Initial F, short I, final X. Number 2, yes, sir. Y-E-R. Number 3, prune. P-R, long U, final N. Number 4, sun. The sun is out. S-U-N. Number 5, and. Initial S, K-P. Number 6, come. K-U-M. Writing it phonetically. Number 7, Y. Initial Y. Number 8, year. Initial Y-A-E-R. Number 9, been. Initial B, final N. Number 10, says. S-E-Z. All right. So do go over those, and if you've missed more than a couple, then go back and redo lesson 10. Okay, you shouldn't miss any more than 1, maybe 2, but I would just say I wouldn't miss any more than 1 just to be on the safe side. If you missed any more than that, go back and practice that lesson. All right, so today we're going to cover lesson 11. So hopefully you have your handouts all printed out, ready to go, so you can follow along and take notes. Today, you're going to learn your initial G and initial J. So let's look at our keyboard here, our keyboard chart. Our initial G is going to be struck with the initial TKPW with our left hand. So we're using our ring finger for the TK, middle finger for the PW, and you strike those at the same time. Okay, and our initial J is going to be the initial SKWR. That's how we strike our initial J. All right, so we don't have a G or a J over here. So that's how we make those letters, by combining other letters. So they're pretty easy strokes. The G, you're using your 2 fingers here, ring and middle finger for the G, and then the J is using all of the keys, SKWR, using all your fingers there. So just practice that, as you go, before you start, just strike that G, J, and go back and forth until that feels comfortable to you. All right, so one thing I want to point out with the J words, be sure to write those words according to the sound. Okay, so the J sound includes words that are spelled with a G, but if they have a J sound, you're going to write it phonetically with a J. Okay, so for example, gym. I went to the gym, G-Y-M. It has a J sound, so we're going to write it with the initial J. Okay, so let's look at 11.1, the word practice. We're going to start off with initial G words. Okay, all right, so we've got gone, G-O-N, and I know it looks like a bunch of mumble jumble when you're looking at it, but pretty soon, as you get to read, the more you read your steno notes, the more familiar it's going to become, and pretty soon you're going to see the TKPW as the initial G. Okay, so when you're reading that, don't say TKPW, say initial G. Okay, so gone is going to be written as G-O-N. So here's my two fingers here, G-O, final N. Okay, goal, that's a long O, goal. God, G-O-D. Gear, we've got our A-E reversal rule there, so G-A-E-R. Gut, G-U-T. Gap, G-A-P. Get, G-E-T. Gore, gore is a long O. The movie showed a lot of blood and gore. Gun, G-U-N. Geek, G-long-E-K. Grip, G-R-I-P. Graze, G-R-long-A-Z. Gal, G-A-L. Gum, G-U-M. Grim, G-R-I-M. Gripe, G-R-long-I-P. Make sure you write that with a long I, otherwise it would be grip. Grow, G-R-long-O. Grape, G-R-long-A-P. Grade, G-R-long-A-D. Grown, G-R-long-O-N. Now, let's look at the next line there. We've got gait and gait. The first gait we come to is going to be the gait as in a walk. Your manner of walking. Her gait is odd because her strides are long. That gait is G-long-A-T. Then we have gate as in shut the gate. That one ends with an E, so we're going to flag that one. So if you want to highlight it so it stands out to flag. Okay, so shut the gate ends with an E, so we're going to flag it. G-long-A-T with the flag. Then we have glow, G-L-long-O. Now, let's talk about those. Those are going to feel a little odd, the GL words, as well as when you read them, because you're using your initial G, TKPW, but you're also using your L. So really when you go to read that, you're going to see TKPWHR. So you know that your G is the TKPW, your L is the HR. So really you're seeing all of this, but that's your initial GL. Okay, so don't let that throw you. So we've got glow, G-L long O. Glaze, G-L long A-Z. Okay, make sure you write it with a Z, not an S. So yes, we've only got two GL words there. Okay, so it's good practice because eventually you're going to hear more of those. All right, but just again, don't let that throw you off when you're using your ring, middle, and index finger of your left hand. Okay. All right, now let's go into some initial J words. The first word we have is jog. Initial J-O-G, jog. Okay, S-K-W-R-O-G. Then we have jet, J-E-T. Gel, now this is the gel that J-E-L-L, like we will learn to gel as a team. Okay, we're going to talk about the other gel down below in the last word in this group here. All right, so this gel, J-E-L-L, is just written as J-E-L. Jail, J-long-A-L. Jot, J-O-T. Now it has the broad A sound, the aw sound, but it's spelled with an O, so we're going to keep it with an O. Okay, jam, J-A-M. Jeer, J-long-E-R. Joke, J-long-O-K. Jig, J-I-G. Jab, J-A-B. Jazz, J-A-Z. Juice, J long U S, jar, Jar, jade, J long A D, J like a blue jay, J long A, Jean, now there's your EA, AE reversal, spelled EA, so we write it as AE, JAEN, juke, J long UK, jerk, JERK, jock, again, it has the ah sound, but we write it with an O because it's spelled with an O in English, JOK. Now, Jim, that's one of the examples. It's spelled with a G in English, but it has the J sound, so we're going to write it with the J, JIM. Now, if you have the word Jim as in Jim is my uncle, that would be flat. Okay, so we don't have a conflict with Jim and Jim. Jip, like to cheat, he will jip you, JIP. Gin, again, it's spelled with a G, but it has a J sound, so we write it as JIN. Gem, JEM. Gel, now this gel is spelled GEL. That's the jelly-like substance that we put in our hair. That one's going to be flat, so it doesn't conflict with gel, JELL. Okay. All right, and I really encourage you to write all of the words from your handouts before you actually start the homework. It'll make it so much easier. Just if you run through it 1 or 2 times before you actually do the homework. Okay, because it gets you familiar with the different strokes that you will be doing. Okay. All right, so let's move on to 11.2. It's a writing drill. So we've got different phrases. So again, you separate each word with a comma. So you're going to do that in 11.1 as well as 11.2 because those are phrases. So you're going to write had, gone, comma. Okay, gone is just G-O-N. So initial G-O-N, gone. Comma, the jip, comma. We got, comma, gin fizz. Make sure you write that with the final Z, not an S. It's not fizz. To jar, comma, to get, comma, gym suit, comma, suit is a long U. Now let's go down to line 5. You're going to see jet lag, comma, to jog, comma, the gag, comma, the jade, comma, big Jim. Now that Jim needs to be flat. It's somebody's name, Big Jim. Okay, so that will be written as J-I-M. And if I were you, I would use your right index finger because that is the one that is available. Just makes it easier. Okay. Let's see here. Everything else looks good. Okay, so just separate each phrase with a comma. Moving on over to 11.3. We've got some sentences, a sentence drill. Again, if you notice, all of your phrases will be underlined. Did you take the gym, or did you take gym in Iraq? So you're going to phrase did you, okay? Now, if you notice in line 3, tell us your joke. Tell your joke to me. Don't forget your, that's possessive your, so that is written as why you are, okay? Again, when we have a contraction your, that's going to just be long you are. So that's the difference between the two. So don't forget that possessive your is why you are, and contraction your is long you are. So if you have to, make a little note above that, above yours, so that you don't forget as you're going through the homework. And again, line 6, second sentence. Will you get gas for me? For is just F-O-R, not a long O, short O. We're going to save the long O for words that have the prefix for, forget, forgot, and so forth. All right. Now, in line 10, the second sentence, it says you need gas for the truck. You're going to need to phrase for the, F-O-R-T. And again, it doesn't conflict with the word fort because that would be a long O. All right. All right, moving over to 11.4, briefs and phrases. Got some new briefs and phrases. All right, so we're going to start off with good. The brief for good is initial G. TKPW. That's our brief for good. Okay. Then we have going. The brief for going is initial G, final G. Now don't put in your O. Sometimes I see students throwing in their O for going. It's just initial G, final G. Okay. Now go is going to be next. Now that is technically not a brief, but we include this because we don't want you to get confused with briefs that we use in phrases only with the word go. So we want to point out that go is just G-O, but we're going to talk about that in line 3. So let's go ahead and I just kind of like to verify that just so you're not wondering why is go on here when it's written G-O. And it's not a long O, it's just G-O. Okay, but we like to include it so you kind of get used to writing go, and then down below we'll talk about the phrase go. All right, so line 2 we have judge. Judge is going to be initial S-K-W-R, the initial J. Okay, now we've got gentleman, J-A on the initial side, and gentleman, J-E. Okay, line 3. Now you notice it says go in phrases only. If we just have go, it's not final G, it's G-O. But in phrases only, like to go, we would write that as T-O-G, to go. Will go, initial L, final G. Can go, initial K, final G. Would go, W-O, final G. You go, U-G. I go, I-G. Now, we can't phrase could go because could is initial K, final D. Okay, so that's why that's not on there. All right, so those are your briefs and phrases for 11.4. Moving on over to 11.5, we have a brief drill. This pretty much covers all of your new briefs from that section. So just separate each one with a comma, good comma, why comma, gentleman comma, and so forth. Yes, sir, comma, okay. All right, moving on over to 11.6, practice sentences. Those are all pretty self-explanatory. They're pretty much all of the briefs and phrases that you learn in 11.4. Just a little reminder, if you look at line 5, the third sentence over, it says, I go, comma, and you go. Now make sure you strike your RBGS. If there's a comma on your sheet, then you want to strike the comma. I go, comma, and you go, comma. Okay. All right. Everything else there looks good. Again, if it's underlined, that means you are to phrase that. Okay. Looking on over at 11.7, we've got consonant compounds. So we're going to focus on the initial KR, final RT. So we've got crow, long O, creep, long E, crime, long I, cruise, long U with the final Z. It's not cruise, it's cruise. Crane, long A, creed, long E, cry, long I, crib, crap, crew, long U, crab, cram, crock. Now, crock has the aw sound, but it's spelled with an O, so we're going to keep it with an O. K-R-O-K. Crud, crop. Again, it has the ah sound, but it's spelled with an O, so we're going to keep it with an O. So your consonant compound, again, is going to be the initial KR. And notice that my middle finger is having to go up because I don't want it to brush the P or the W. So I have to keep that up. All right, so just practice hitting that initial KR a few times. All right, now the next set of consonant compounds is going to be the final RT. All right, so you're using your index finger of your right hand and your pinky, RT. So we've got art, heart. Notice it's spelled EA, so we're going to use the AE, H-A-E-R-T. Okay. Hurt, fart, court. Court is a long O. Cart, dirt, dart, part, sort, long O. Port, long O. Fort, long O. Tort, long O. That's a civil wrongful act. Hart. Now, hart, H-A-R-T, that's a male deer. Okay, so you're going to write that as H-A-R-T. Mart, that's like a store, M-A-R-T. Curt, that's being rude, K-U-R-T. Tart, T-A-R-T. Pert, P-E-R-T, that's very lively. Wart, now that's the growth on your skin. That's going to be written as W-A-R-T, just like it's spelled. Then we've got wart, the next one over, W-O-R-T. That's a plant. Probably won't hear that very often, but if you do, it's written as W-long-O-R-T, wart. So that's the difference between wart and wart. Okay. All right, moving on over to 11.8, we've got some practice sentences. Again, if you see something underlined, you know you must phrase that. Okay. All right. Moving on into 11.9, we've got some conflict outlines. We've been working on those and we're continually adding. Okay, so some of these we've already covered a little bit, but we like to cover them from time to time so that you don't forget, okay, because they're so important. All right. All right, so let's look at the first one, road and road. If you notice, the first road is like the road, I drove on the road. It's spelled R-O-A-D. And then we've got road, I rode my bike, R-O-D-E. Now, those are both often used, so we're not going to flag either one. We came up with a way to not have to flag it because they both come up about the same amount of time. Okay, so road is going to be written as R-A-O-D, just like it's spelled, except it's flipped. R-O-A-D, we're writing it as R-A-O-D. Okay, then we have road, I rode my bike, R-long-O-D. Okay, load and load. So let's load the washer, L-long-O-D. And then we have load, L-O-D-E. Now that's not used very often. It just means an ore deposit. Like you hear of Mother Lode from Clean Jumper. That's where they get that big cake from, that big chocolate cake. That's where they get that from because that's, it's supposed to be like a mining theme there. So that's where they get that from, the Mother Lode. So L-O-D-E, that's not going to come up very often. So we're going to flag that. Okay, L-long-O-D with the flag. I would definitely use your right hand to flag that. Okay, load. Then we've got loan and loan. L-O-A-N, I will loan you the money is L-long-O-N. And then loan, L-O-N-E. That just means all alone, like the Lone Ranger. That one is going to be flagged. It's not going to come up as often, so we're going to flag it. L-long-O-N with the flag. Okay. Moving into line 4, coarse. She has coarse hair. That would be K-long-O-R-S. And course, K-O-U-R-S-E, the golf course or the class course. That's going to be written as K-O-U-R-S, just like it's spelled, K-O-U-R-S. Okay. All right. Then moving into line 5, we have I will, I-L, and ill, which is written as yill, Y-I-L, yill. I am ill today. So just think of it as yill. Now, line 6, dual and dual. The first dual means double. We went on dual dates. That's going to be written as D-long-U-L. And duel, D-U-E-L, to fight. That's going to be used less often. So that's the one that we're going to flag. The duel was bloody and violent. D-long-U-L with the flag. And again, you can use whatever finger you want to flag it. Okay. All right, line 7, vial and vial. The first vial is like a vial of blood. You're going to hear that more often. So that's V-long-I-L, as opposed to vial, V-I-L-E, like an evil person. V-long-I-L with the flag. Again, you're not going to hear vial person very often. So that is the one that's flagged. Line 8, sight, sight, sight. First sight, a beautiful sight. is going to be written as S long I G T. It's spelled G-H-T, so we're going to use our G-T. Then we have site, S-I-T-E. The accident site was horrific. That's just written as S long I-T. Then we have cite, C-I-T-E, to recite as evidence, like cite the passage or cite the witness. That one is going to be written as S long I-T with the flag. Okay, let me show you. So S long I-T, and again, you can flag with either finger. Okay, and again, C-I-T-E doesn't come up as often. Now, our last line here, we've got pour, 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 power. So let's look at the first two. The first pour, as in pour me a drink, is written as P long O-R. Then we have pour, like the pour in your skin. That is going to be P long O-R with the flag. Okay, again, that's not going to come up as often as pour, like pour me a drink. Now, the next two are included in this chapter just to give you a heads up so you know what or how to write it. But I do have to let you know that pour, P-O-O-R, is going to be covered, more of those words will be covered in lesson 12. Okay, we have a spelling rule in lesson 12. Any word that's spelled O-O, we write it as A-O. So that's why you're going to see pour written as P-A-O-R. So it is included in the homework. We want you to do it, but I'm just letting you know we really haven't covered a lot of our O-O words yet, but that's coming in the next chapter. So they are a pour family, would be written as P-A-O-R, okay? So that's, you can write yourself a little note there. That is a spelling rule. Anytime we have a word spelled O-O in English, we write it as A-O on our machine, kind of like the A-E reversal rule. It's a spelling rule, okay? All right, now the next word is power. Now, power, you're going to learn more of those sounds, the ow sound, in lesson 16. But again, we want to kind of cover this so you have an idea of what or how to write it. Power is going to be written as P-O-U-R, power. Okay, so that's why pour me a drink, it's spelled P-O-U-R, but we write it as P long O-R because we don't want it to conflict with power. And we're going to, again, we're going to learn more of the ow words in lesson 16. Okay, but still go ahead and I want you to go ahead and include this in your homework, okay? All right, then looking over section 11.10, you have some sentences. These are all practice sentences. Again, if it helps you, I would highly encourage you to go through and write the correct, the way you would write it on your machine, right above the word. For instance, the first sentence says, take the new road. If you want, write N-U above new, road, R-A-O-D. And then the next sentence, he rode his bike, right above it, you can write R-O-E-D so that you know how, when you're writing it, you're not, doubting yourself. You can see that you're writing it correctly, okay? So just go through, if that helps, with all of your homophones and just, go through and write the correct way above it. And that way you've got that security that you're, writing that word correctly. Okay. All right. So everything there, though, is pretty much from all of the words that you're learning in this lesson. So there's really nothing different or anything thrown at you that you don't already, know from 11.9 and 11.1 through 11.9. Okay. All right. So once you do this at least 3 times, preferably 4 or more, then go ahead and go on to the read back portion of the class, and then we'll get started on some read back sentences. Okay. Have a wonderful day.